see, I learned yet another bitter and crappy lesson of getting chopped by the props. And yeah, it hurt pretty bad. But I should not. You should never have it on in the house with the props on, and that's what I did. So that's what happens. Um, it wasn't this one. It was the one over there in the corner in the window. That dangerous looking one that I'm about to disassemble and use for spare parts. But I did finish this build last night, and it's successfully made last night. Um, I forgot how much it weighs. Damn it! But it was good. It was within. It was 332 grams. So that's within reason, and that's with the props on and the antenna, no lipo, battery strap, you know, fully ready to fly, except for the lipo. Um, and yeah, it flies great. Those motors are so smooth. The bearings that they put in these DYS motors right here, in this particular motor here, it's hush, hush quiet. Like, this is a 5 inch, and you can't hear it at all. Uh, and I could definitely sneak up on you from behind with this and be like, punch out, scare the shit out of you. The camera fits in there, even though this originally frame, I got the. So what happened originally was my beater quad, which was a real act, real 5, right? All my other quads are broken now or not working. So I'm using the beater quad every day, right? And well, not all of my quads, but a lot of them. I still have a few that are flying. Um, and spare parts are on the way. They should be here any minute. But so I kept crashing the real act because I was just flying it all day, every day. Just it, nothing else. Hawk 5 is down. Batman gone. Out, done. Up a tree 150 feet. Yeah, Gep RC, same thing. Gone. Um, I'm not much for climbing really tall trees. But, shit happens. This is the first time this has happened to me ever. And, it sucks for sure. But, you know, it's not that big of a deal. I got more parts, and I'll probably get at least one bind and fly, probably, if not a kit or something. But so the real act frame was at an end, and it was still flyable, but it just wasn't good. The experience was starting to suffer, and so I'm in here tightening the motor after a prop change, and this happened. This happened on the King Kong, and it happened on the Real Act. But it happened on the King Kong with relatively new motors. I've ordered replacement for this, and I've kind of lost faith in it now. Really, if I can just with my own strength just snap it off like that, you know. Now I can understand the real 5 one. I mean, my gosh, I've been flying that one for 6 months, hard, and changed. I've changed out every single part in it multiple times. Motors swapped out. I mean, that thing was a real beater, and just worn to death. So, but the electronics work. So after I snapped that bell, I took the electronics and put it in a different frame, and I used different motors because obviously the original motors were the problem because I was snapping them off. Because now these motors, as you can see, they're they're destroyed from use, but they didn't get hot and burn up or anything. Just a lot of crashes, a lot of uh, Frankensteining rebuild situation, and wow, there's still one of them that works. Wow, but so I put those Furry V motors on there, and this shows just how bad Furry V motors are. And Furry V in general, I've stopped using their stuff. Period. Now, this is the motors that I had installed at first. Brand new motors, hollow shaft with the circlip, nice heat shrink done up. They look like Racer Star motors. You know, they look like they're just rebranded, but something else is going on here. Um, and I couldn't figure out what it is. So I had the motors installed in this, and it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work right. Like at first it did work right. The first time I armed it, they spun up, and I fixed the motor direction and everything. Uh, but every time after that, it did what it did on the original quad, which is just twitching around and, you know, unpredictably spinning some of them and then stopping and resetting. I wasn't able to diagnose it. I flashed it in BL Heli S, which is appropriate for these. It's what the ESCs were running on, and so I'm not sure if it was the ESCs. I don't think it could be the ESCs now because I've taken these motors and hooked them up to two different ESCs and they did the same thing. They crapped out. So and once again, when I changed the motors from the green ones to these black DYS motors, now the same ESC that worked with these motors now works with these motors, didn't work with these motors, and these motors also didn't work with another set of ESCs. Obviously, those motors are trash because they are the only thing that doesn't work in different setups. Um, you know, it's not the ESC's fault. It didn't need to be calibrated. It's not that old. This is D-Shot 600 and BL Heli S, and you know, it flies perfectly fine now, just because I swapped the motors. And so for me, that's the end of Furry V. The only thing I liked that they had was the 3-inch, the VX 140. I had about 5 or so of those and built a bunch of them. And real fun quad. A little, I wouldn't say underpowered, but it'd be nice if you could put it on 5S. Maybe you could if they, you know, but silly, you know, just get an HGLRC XJB or a GEP RC Sparrow, and you've got the same 3-inch size quad with a one-piece frame that's much tougher than the admittedly pretty tough Furry V, but you're not gonna break. I ran the HGLRC XJB right into the curb, trying to go through this gap, and just I don't know. Maybe the battery was sagging. Full speed right into the curb, ding the bell, crushed the sacrificial motor carbon fiber parts. You know, the part outside the motor that the Dark Max didn't have, but this one has in the form of like a shark's tooth looking protrusion. I crushed that part, and that was it. Need a new motor. You know, no frame damage other than that. And that's damage that would have delaminated a Baby Hawk R3 arm or 2 or 4. You know, that's a guarantee, if not worse damage. And it certainly would have broken a Furry VX 140. It would have broken the arms right at the place where it goes into the sandwich plate and the bottom plate. I've done it a bunch of times with that kind of impact. It protects the motor, but it breaks that arm. So then you just replace the arm, add a bunch of parts and arms, and it was all good. But at the end of the day, it doesn't fly. It flies locked in, but it's just slow, and it doesn't. It's good for a beginner, but when I started flying more crazy acro shit and having fun with that, the XJB is a much better choice. The Gap RC Sparrow is a much better choice. So really, I don't need anything Furry V. I never thought it would come a day I would stop liking the VX140, but now it's like, it's a memory from when I started out. And this kind of thing should be too. I should not have bought those two Furry V 215 quads. I should not have bought those. The frame is kind of like a D-quad clone, and that's a good thing because, man, anything like this, in my experience, is pretty tough. The ways I've crashed that Real 5, which was also a kind of a D-quad clone. By that I just mean two parallel aluminum arches or whatever for the canopy. Uh, I've crashed that in a multitude of ways. And now my camera is totally protected. There's no harm could come to this camera no matter what I do. I could ram it into a tree at full speed and this camera will not be destroyed from impact. Anyways, it's possible that the screws could rip out from the plastic because it's the cheap one without the metal inserts. But they can rip out too, I guess. But realistically, this is a pretty tough canopy. It protected the guts while the guts were in the other quad, and I'm sure it'll be fine in this. I don't see any. This is a much tighter fit, but it fits a 3 stack high 35 by 35 stack. Everything on here is full size. The only thing I had a little problem with was soldering on the receiver and putting the Velcro on top of the VTX heat thingy, and I had to do it lengthwise or crosswise instead of, athwart ships if it was a boat. Oh, no, that's not right. But you see how it's in there. It's kind of awkward that it's not going up and down like that. It sticks out a little tiny bit, but the antennas are fine with it. You get excellent range with a setup like this. I've gotten really good range, and not even really had it in the best position, but it seems to work out just fine. And it takes a good crash this way. It's easy to replace this. Well, it's easy if you have one to replace it with. The antenna mount, and it's got the king of VTX antenna mounts. I don't know what it's called, but man, aside from it being a little bulky for certain situations, it's the best antenna mount, man. I mean, I've broken so many of these antenna situations, but this one seems to be the beefiest one, and possibly user serviceable, maybe, if you did end up fucking it up somehow. that screw looks a little bit loose for my liking. I don't even like seeing a little bit of air, you know. I want this shit to be tight. But yeah, looks like it stopped raining, so I'm gonna go fly here shortly. I think did a number on my hand. I mean, I should have gotten stitches for sure, but I mean, that's money, you know, that I didn't really have. I will live. Hopefully, it won't get infected. I did clean it out, but who knows what plastic what they put in the plastic over there. Yeah, and that's not even. Oh no, that is your pinky right there. Part of my pinky is gone. Oh yeah, sorry about that. I'll do that. So, for no reason. Alright, it's been 20 minutes. I'm gonna cut this now. You guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.